Next topic is going to be talking about Kevin Durant and Charles Barkley. And so recently, Charles Barkley had some comments to make about Kevin Durant not being a leader, and I thought this was real interesting, and I definitely wanted to touch on this. So I'm going to play the sound, and then we'll get back and talk about that. So first, it's going to be Charles Barkley's comments on it, and then you're going to hear Kevin Durant respond to those comments on his show, The Boardroom. So let's check that out, and then we'll come back.
No disrespect to Kevin. Kevin's a follower. He's not a leader. He's proven that on all his stops. Booker's a hell of a player also. I think he's going to have to take it. Man, Kevin's a hell of a bad about him, but I say the same thing with Boston. That's a step forward. And for me, for Phoenix to be successful, it has to be Booker.
Why do you think people in the media think you're not a good leader or that you're not a leader?
I'm not as charismatic as my peers. I don't have a personality that's like fit for TV like my peers. And a lot of those stories of what we talk about don't get spoken about in the media. And that's just really what it is. It's like you got to sell what you're doing as well. And I haven't sold it enough, and I feel like I don't feel like I need to. I don't feel like I want people to call me a leader, but I also don't want people to say I'm not one either. You know what I'm saying? Because and they don't see what goes on behind the scenes or what I talk about or my intentions or the relationships that I built with my teammates and support staff. But when guys like that say that, I just got to chalk it up to them just not being aware of what goes on instead of like wanting to, push a narrative for myself, maybe not a narrative or tell the truth for myself. Or expose the truth on how great of a leader I am. I don't feel like it's necessary. I'll just chalk it up to those guys not being aware of who I am. Yeah.
Okay, so that was real interesting. If you listen to the sound, and I see my man Mel from Man Down Sports just popped up in the chat. Shout out Mel, thanks for everything, man. Definitely glad you're here. But back to it. So I think that Barkley just tells it how it is, and some people, of course, you know what they're gonna say. Oh, he's just an old head hater. This, that, and the third. Cool. Old head hater. That's code for I'm too lazy to think of a proper response. So I'm gonna just say that because I don't have anything better to say. But I definitely agree with Charles Barkley on this. And the fact is, KD isn't a leader, and he's told us on multiple occasions that he's not a leader. For instance, check this out. This is KD when he joined the Golden State Warriors in 2017. Steph Curry is the face of the franchise, and that helps me out because I don't have to. I don't want to have to be the leader. I'm not a leader. I'm bad at saying, stand behind me and follow me. Now, that's cool, right? If you're KD, you can say, man, listen, that was 2017. That was, 7 years ago. I've grown a lot as a person and as a player and so on and so forth. And I totally get all that, right? And so you got a situation where at that point, maybe he hadn't learned to be a leader yet. He got with Draymond in Golden State and with Steph, and he saw some of the things that it took to be a leader. I don't know, but from what I've seen in his career, I don't think that he's a leader. Think about this. He's always told us he's not. He said he's just a hooper, right? His focus is going out and mastering his craft and being the best basketball player that he can be. And that's what he cares about, mastering his craft and his game. So my thing is this. If you heard in the comment, how is he arguing that he's a leader when in the same clip, he's saying that he's not a leader, but he just doesn't want someone to say it? Does that sound like it makes sense to you? There we go, Sarah. That doesn't sound like a leader. I don't want to not be called a leader. That's not confident. And part of being a leader is confidence. You got to have that, right? You got to be able to say exactly what he told us he didn't want is get behind me and I'll lead you, right? So I don't understand, like, why is this even an issue? KD, if you're not a leader, that's cool. Everybody's not built to be one. Now, there are certain things that some people are natural leaders. Some people can be taught to be leaders. There are various schools in the military that teach people how to be leaders or teach people traits of leadership that they can employ so that they can improve in their leadership. But for the most part, the greatest leaders are born. You can be taught, but the greatest leaders are born. And if we look through our history, we can see that. I'm not going to get into a history lesson, even though I'm a history buff. But it doesn't make any sense that KD would even be arguing this, right? Then you have the people. This is what gets me. So obviously these comments were big, but then you have from both of them, from Barkley and from Kevin Durant, but you got people like Gilbert Arenas, big voices in the basketball space, and they try to make a false equivalency. What do I mean by a false equivalency? They try to make an analogy that doesn't work. For instance, Gilbert Arenas he's saying he basically attacked Charles Barkley, saying, hey, what are you doing at Kevin Durant? Look at your career. You weren't a leader either. So the first thing, of course, is they're going to say you never won anything. But Barkley, he's well-versed in dealing with that. He's come out many times, said, listen, I never won. I can accept that, right? He did everything he could do to win, but he just couldn't get there, as many people in Michael Jordan's era just couldn't get there. So the fact is this, Gilbert Arenas, he was dead wrong on that. So let's break it down a little bit. Charles Barkley was drafted in 1984, same draft class as Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, and those guys. The difference is when those guys went to their teams, they were immediately the man. Charles Barkley, if you remember, drafted to the Philadelphia 76ers. Let's look back and think, who was on that team when Charles Barkley got there? Oh, Dr. J, top 20 player all time. Oh, Moses Malone, top 20 player all time. So two of the best who ever did it were already on that team. Who was Charles Barkley supposed to come in and lead? You tell me. I'll wait. Exactly. So Barkley comes in, Dr. J and Moses Malone are already there. First of all, most rookies aren't equipped to be the leader as is. Furthermore, you got two all-time greats there, so he didn't have to be that. So obviously, I think after the 87 season, Dr. J retires and Moses Malone gets traded. So the team is Charles Barkley's, and the team was not very good. Now, if you look at that point, by 87, Boston Celtics are playing in their last NBA Finals. They get beat by the Lakers in 87. And then in 88, you see the Detroit Pistons in the Eastern Conference, the bad boys, finally overcome the Celtics and end up in the finals, right? See, so back in the day, a lot of fans nowadays think that you just build a team and you immediately get to the finals and you immediately start competing for championships. No, back in the day in the East, there was a pecking order, right? So in the early 80s, you had the Sixers and the Celtics battling for supremacy. And then by 84, 85, 86, 87, the Celtics were the dominant team. And then after, like I just told you, after 87, after 87, you saw the Celtics finally succumb to age, injury, and a better team. And that was the Detroit Pistons, who then took over, did their thing. They went to 3 straight finals, won 2 championships. And then, as we saw in The Last Dance, or if you know anything about basketball, at that point, Michael Jordan and the Bulls are climbing the hill. And by 91, they finally knock off the Pistons, get to the championship, win it, and they're sitting up there. So the point is, at that point, nobody can even remember, for the most part, who were on those 76ers teams with Charles Barkley. What was he supposed to do? Who was he supposed to eat? Who was he supposed to beat? I'm sorry. Yeah, Dr. J. What up, TB? Dr. J was Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan. Absolutely. Absolutely. And anybody who knows basketball could see that. But yeah, who was Charles Barkley supposed to lead on those Sixers teams, and who were they supposed to beat? That's why it frustrates me when people with big voices in the sports media are disingenuous. So Gilbert Arenas is saying this. Why is he saying this? Because the people who are listening don't know what they're listening to. That's what that is, real talk. Now, by going into the 92 season, Charles Barkley gets traded from Philadelphia to the 76ers. I'm sorry, from Philadelphia to the Phoenix Suns. Now, the Phoenix Suns, here's Gilbert Arenas' other argument. The Suns have been winning 50-plus games a year for like the previous 3 or 4 years. And that's true, but guess what? They didn't have, what were they missing? Oh, a leader. So Charles Barkley gets there, immediately becomes a leader of that team, and immediately that team goes to the finals. And they lose in the finals. And I'm not the guy that's going to make excuses for losing in the finals, because I don't do it for LeBron, so I can't do it with Barkley. However, there is a little bit of context. Who did they play in the finals? Oh, Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls on the 3rd championship of their first three-peat. Like I told you earlier, when Michael Jordan hit the top of that mountain, nobody was going to knock him off. So the point I'm trying to make here is, up until this point, we see where Barkley had the opportunity to be a leader. He was a leader, and he was an effective leader. Now, people then say, they love to throw this at Barkley. Oh, well, at the end of your career, you were just a ring chaser. You ran to Houston and you tried to make a super team with Clyde and Dream, and then with Scotty and Dream. Well, no, that's not how it happened. Do your research. He actually got traded to Houston, and he didn't even know that was happening, okay? Hersey Hawkins, okay, all right, that's fair. But that Hersey Hawkins, going back real quick, when I asked the question of who was on those 76ers team, most of us can't remember. Hersey Hawkins was very good, outstanding shooter. He could score, but he wasn't a guy that's going to get you over the top with Charles Barkley against, all those other great teams in the East that we talked about. And by the way, even though they never got to a finals until 94, the New York Knicks were a second-tier team, and they were winning, I think in 92, they won like 60 games with Pat Riley. So, let's look at it that way. But yeah, I think the point is Charles Barkley was a leader, and Gilbert Arenas was being disingenuous when he's saying that Barkley was not. So that's not cool. So Barkley ends up in Houston, and he gets traded, and no, he wasn't the leader there, right? If you want to say he was a leader, but Dream was a leader because that was his team, and he had previously led him to 2 championships. So it's another example of just a false narrative to try and prove something that doesn't stand up. But the whole point is getting back to Kevin Durant. This is why I absolutely agree with Charles Barkley that Kevin Durant is not a leader. He's shown us he's not a leader. He's told us he's not a leader. Because let's think about this. I get it. Grown men are grown men. But if Kevin Durant was truly a leader, when he was in Brooklyn, he would have taken control of that team. But he's a guy that just wants to hoop. He doesn't want to do the other things that come with being a leader. And I'm not mad at that. If that's you and that's your personality and you just want to play ball and master that craft, that's cool. No problem at all. But the fact is, you can't get mad when somebody says you're not a leader, because you're not. All right. Go ahead and right now I'll open up the phone lines. I'll take a couple calls if anybody wants to call in with that and give their thoughts on Charles Barkley's comments about Kevin Durant not being a leader. You can call in at 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. Give me a shout, and if not, then we'll get on to the next topic. All right, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna leave this up, but I'm gonna move on to the next topic. If you wanna call in, go ahead and call in and just say where you calling from, what's your name. And by the way, anybody who calls in, just a couple ground rules: no profanity, no racial slurs, nothing like that. We want to keep it nice, and we want to be the type of show where if you're listening to the pod in your car, or you're listening to the show in your car and your kids are in there, you don't have to change the channel. So let's keep it respectful and let's keep it relatively clean. All right. But I'm gonna get on to the next topic. And this one was kind of interesting to me. Okay, here we go. We got one. Let's go ahead and take that. 336, you're in the mix. What's going on?
What's going on? It's Mel.
Mel. This is my main man, Mel. Man Down Podcast. What you got for us, Mel?
No, I slightly disagree with your take on the league. The part I do agree with is that Barkley was a leader.
Okay. You say you disagreed with that?
Too. I mean, because if you just go to the basic definition, leader is just a person that leads. You know what I mean? So I think the question here is Kevin Durant a good leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Barkley's saying he's not a leader.
Okay, I lost you. Say that again. Barkley saying he's not a leader. What was that?
Yeah, Barkley saying he's not a leader is, it don't really make sense because he's led several teams. I mean, you can go back to the last team that won the gold in the Olympics. Kevin Durant led that team. He led the OKC Thunder team to the finals against Miami Heat. To fight him for the Golden State statement that he made is because if you remember, as soon as he went to Golden State, the media had a lot of negative things to say, and it was almost like he was trying to be divisive and.
So let me ask you. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, there was the way they was asking him those questions was the difference between him and Steph and Clay by asking him who is it your team now that you're here? Whose team is it? Who leads this team? Who takes the lead? Who does X, Y, and Z? How y'all gonna do this? Right? And then you had Clay make that comment. I'm not taking less shots. Right? So everything was about dividing them, and he was trying to say the least divisive thing by deferring and nah.
So let me push back on that a little bit. As someone who has been worked as a journalist and been in those post game presses and asked those kind of questions, my thing is, I don't want to be rude to anybody, but that's a stupid question to ask a guy who just walked into the franchise. Whose team is it? Like, I hear what you're saying. If you're asking that question, you are deliberately trying to, you're trying to look for some smoke to make something and get a hot soundbite or whatever it is, because that's ridiculous. If you cover that team, either team who's playing, that's Steph's team.
Hello?
Yeah, hello?
Yeah. It was going in and out. Nah. And they was doing it in the media. They was doing it on ESPN. Like, this is the type of stuff they was talking about. You can go back to your memory about those debates. These are the type of debates they would have on ESPN constantly. Whose team is who's going to take the last shot? Who's going to take less? I mean, he made that quote, and I'm pretty sure he wish he could have that opportunity back, not to say it, because now it's coming to bite him back in the butt. The last point I make is the Brooklyn situation, when you said that he would have took control of that situation.
Mm-hmm.
As far as basketball and all of that stuff, he was still the leader there. The only thing that people feel like he should have done different is force somebody to get a vaccination, and good and well that ain't gonna go well with no grown man.
Well, no, you can't do that.
Why even try to do that?
Right.
Why, so I mean that's the only mistake he made with the leadership. And Harden said he wanted to trade. Okay, cool. You want to trade? Cool. But that's just his personality. But to say he's not a leader, I think that's a little bit crazy for Barkley to say. I think he should say, I don't think he leads well, and then there will be more of a accurate equivalency.
Hello? Okay, there we go.
Why Barkley was a leader, the first step to leadership in sport is for you to show up and lead by example. And part of that, the camp in shape and staying in shape for your whole career, which Barkley did not do. So he failed the first step of leadership.
Okay. So I just looked up leadership here, and leadership is the action of leading a group of people or an organization. And quick side note, when I was growing up, they always said, don't use the word in the definition. That seems to happen all the time now. So I don't know what's the deal with definitions now. But anyway, so are you looking at leadership as just being the best player on a team?
Say again?
Are you looking at leadership as just being the best player on a team? Because to me, I'm seeing leadership as being more than that, not just being the guy who scores the most points or leads the team in the statistical categories to winning. I think there's more to it than that. What is your thoughts on that? Because I think that's where KD is coming up short for me.
No, leadership has not been the best player on the team. Leadership is just leading. It's always
Hello? I think I lost you again. Okay, you went out. But let's do this. Give me a call back if you get a chance. I'm gonna move on to the next topic. Thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. You going in and out. All right, but no, that was I kind of feel where Mel is coming from on that. I don't agree with him completely, because now maybe I'm the type of guy that's looking for a leader to be more aggressive and maybe more vocal in the vein of a Kobe or a Mike or even a Magic or a Bird. Now, everybody's not going to lead the same way. I totally get it. But I just think that I needed to see more from KD. And again, even if Mel was right, here's the problem. KD, in talking about it, is saying in the same quote that he is a leader and people don't know because they're not there to see what he's doing to lead, but that he's not a leader and he just doesn't like people saying it. So to me, none of that adds up, but it is what it is.